Anyone need more time?
A lot of reading.
I'm good.
Make a motion, we move back into
Back into
regular session?
Well,
What?
we don't need a motion.
You don't? Oh, then let's go back into regular session.
Okay. Just for the record, Danbury Ambulance has supplied their financials.
That wasn't, I didn't see their financials.
What's that?
I did not see their financials.
These are here too. Their financials show 2017 net income of $422,000. 2016 net income 2018 January through December of 233,000. Net income 2017 of 422,000. Income on this one. Net income in 2016 of 118,000. So if you want to see them, they're financially sound.
Was that a requirement that they
Nope.
needed to provide those, or did you request that they provide?
I asked they provide them, and they gave them, they brought them right up. Okay. What I'm seeing the difference between the two services that are requesting, Danbury Ambulance is looking to take to go into that PSA and provide 24-hour, 7-day 24/7, 365. An ambulance staffed at the training, for the training school, PSA. He's also saying, we're willing to staff more ambulances and what they need in that. The Sudbury ambulance, proposal, is to combine the PSA with.
Before we go on to Southbury Ambulance, can you tell me where it says that in the Danbury Ambulance application?
This is a letter from Joe DeSimone.
No, I'm talking about the application that they
Yeah, on the
actually
application.
submitted to DDS, because one of my issues with the Danbury Ambulance application is it's incomplete, because it does not include, the Southbury Ambulance application includes a detailed summary of how they're gonna staff it. This one, that section's blank.
It's not in here?
It's blank on the application.
Which page?
Page,
Page 6 of 10.
is it 6? Yeah, page 6.
Question 3, staffing plan, describe the staffing plan that will assure 24/7, 365 basis. It goes unanswered.
We're missing the staffing plan.
So what were you gonna say about Southbury Ambulance's application?
Sudbury ambulance's application, is to absorb this into, their PSA and cover it with their ambulance. You've had their application.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The Danbury ambulance application seems to indicate that they want to post up ambulances at the training school,
And they cannot.
but there's a letter in here saying they can't do that without prior agreement, and so it's kind of fuzzy about where they would post
The
them.
understands once there's an agreement, the state would work with them, with whatever ambulance company to
Right,
have a spot.
okay.
that wants to
That's
do
what the
it.
letters were reading. I did read those, but is Southbury Ambulance proposing to keep their ambulances in the garages they have now?
Yes.
Okay, so it's, that I saw as a difference between the two proposals.
Well, the difference is
One has a home, one doesn't.
with one application, we would have, right now, there's 3 ambulances 24/7 within Southbury. With Danbury ambulance's application, it would continue to be 3 ambulances 24/7 because they'd have to staff that PSA all the time. They have to be there 24/7. The Southbury Ambulance Association's proposal is to absorb that PSA into their area and have one ambulance that has to be staffed 24/7, 365. I have put a call into, I did put a call into home and school organization that does the, it's called the Home and Family Advocacy Group for the citizens of STS, the training school. You know, if we were changing this in Heritage Village, certainly the people in Heritage Village would be listened to. This is for the clients that are at the training school. And this is an advocacy group that speaks for those disabled clients. So I put a call into them and they, for their consideration and what they feel about an ambulance service and what that ambulance service should be, because they live there, their people, they have this, their group. And they said they tried to get back to me either tomorrow or Monday. So I don't think there's anything we should do here right now with this. Make a decision until we hear back from the group that.
Well, what question exactly was posed to the group?
Excuse me?
What, you called the group, what question was posed to the group?
I said to them that their unit I asked them if they understood that the training school was giving up the PSA for the ambulance, and they said yes, they had heard that and they understood that. And I asked them that, there's two proposals that are here. Do you have any feeling on these proposals, or, how this is done, or whether it's gonna be one proposal is for absorption of the PSA, and an ambulance would not be stationed over there. It would be absorbed into the Southbury Ambulance Association. And the other one is for Danbury Ambulance, which is going to keep a ambulance there 24/7 on the grounds.
Well, that's not what it says, just to be clear.
I don't read the Danbury ambulance
Doesn't say that.
application like that. The Danbury ambulance application, as far as I'm concerned, is incomplete. If they submitted that application to the state, it would be incomplete.
And their request was rejected to house, explicit, in their own documentation. Their request was rejected for housing. For purpose of further discussion, I'd like to make a motion that at the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen, the first selectman as the chief administrative official of the town of Southbury approve the primary service responder designation application of Southbury Ambulance Association for the STS training.
Second.
Made and seconded. Discussion. If passing this without hearing from the Home and Family Advocacy Group for the citizens of the Southbury Training School would be a disservice to the disabled people over there who cannot speak for themselves.
We represent all of the citizens of Southbury, including those residents and employees who live at Southbury Training School. They are as important to us as anyone who lives in any section of this community. The decisions that we make, the conversation we have always, from go, taken into account what we believe is in the public safety of every single resident of the town of Southbury, including the souls who live at Southbury Training School. To, after all this time, come to us the day we have applications and say, I've decided to ask them at this point what they believe they'd like to do, is simply delaying a decision. We have a responsibility to every single resident who lives here, who calls Southbury home, including those residents. I believe this board has constantly, in a bipartisan way, made it clear that we stand for every single resident, and have heard from all parties. I'm incredibly grateful to Danbury Ambulance for the mutual aid they provide to us already, and other ambulance providers who serve our town in a mutual aid capacity. But for decades, Southbury Ambulance Association has served this community well. Their application is complete, in my opinion, and thorough. It provides a clear plan of how they would service Southbury Training School and the residents. And I believe at this stage, and this is separate from the other issues we're discussing regarding Southbury Ambulance, at this stage, in this instance, for the STS Training School, they are without question the organization that is our best positioned to best serve the people who live and work at Southbury Training School.
I would like to add that I don't believe that the families of the people who live there were consulted when the town originally applied for the PSA previously. So I'm not sure why the standard would be different now. So for me, this is simply another delay, and I believe we should take a vote.
So we're talking here about two different proposals in front of us. One proposal would keep three ambulances staffed in town 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was brought to my attention that on Tuesday night on Conklin Drive at 7 p.m., a call came in for an ambulance, and the ambulance had to come out of Oxford to come to Conklin Drive to cover the call, a third ambulance at 7 p.m. The Danbury ambulance proposal will cost the town of Southbury nothing. And again, if this was, say, a PSA be given up at Heritage Village, we would give the people of Heritage Village the right to speak and let their feelings be known. When I got the application in, which was SAA's just a couple days, a day or two ago, and today, the Danbury ambulance one that's gonna be applied for. I reached out to the advocacy group because there's two different if there was only one application, that's what it would be. There's two. So I called them. They would like to respond to this. They have to meet with their people, and they said they'd like to get back to me either Friday or Monday, either tomorrow or Monday if they can. They said it'd be a little bit quick to do it for tomorrow. So this is an advocacy group that speaks, is the voice of the people who reside at STS, and I firmly believe that they have a right to be heard over there too, unless this board feels they don't.
Well, first, that's just unacceptable. First, to Jennifer's point, the town filed an application last year for this, for PSA at Southbury Training School, and the first selectman of this town and no member of this town that was aware of the type of application that was being filed reached out to this advocacy group for input at that point in time. Okay? So that's unexplainable, like why we would have that position today but didn't have that position then. But putting that aside, based on what you've said so far tonight, what you've explained to this advocacy group is not the application of Danbury Ambulance. I read the application. The application to Danbury Ambulance is incomplete and does not explain how they intend to staff this. They do not have a location here in the town of Southbury.
They
There's
do.
Where?
They have established a location on 67 at, in the Classic Coach area.
Not according to their application.
They have done that.
Not according to their application.
We don't have to.
That's not yet been approved, though. That's not yet been approved application.
So I am very comfortable, and I would have a conversation at any moment with any member of this advocacy organization and any member who any person who lives or works at Southbury Training School. And I believe they would entrust that we have their best interest at heart, as we do every single resident who lives in Southbury. I remind this board that there was a time where Danbury Ambulance was providing support when STS was short, and it didn't end up working out well. And Southbury Ambulance Association ended up filling that need and requirement. They did so because that is what they do. When there is a need in town, they provide the aid that is called upon them. There is a motion with a second on the floor with this board. I'd ask that, unless there is further discussion from my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen, that we call for a vote.
Justin, do you?
I'm a vote for STS at this point. I don't see a reason to hold this up
You
anymore.
mean SAA?
You mean SAA?
Yeah.
We're all voting for
We're all voting for SDS.
I'm a vote for SAA.
Without waiting to hear from the advocacy group.
I have to say,
Okay.
and I'm going to reiterate Selectman Bucksbaum's point, I think that allegation is truly unacceptable and offensive. But whereas Selectman Bucksbaum says, I'm not sure where that comes from, I think it's completely transparent, and I'd ask that we call for a vote.
Well, the application that went in had not gone to a hearing, and I'm sure they would have been when the hearing came, and it would have provided an ambulance on staff, and it was not a competing group there.
Well, that's, I mean, we don't need to rehash that whole debate. Then the exact, I mean, you're pretty much making the case for what we're saying. I mean, the same thing would be true
I
here.
just
When
said
this
I'd
goes
like
to
to
a
hear
hearing,
from
if
the
they're
advocacy
very much
group.
against it, they can, but I'm not, what I have before me now are two applications. I have an application from Southbury Ambulance that seems to be within the long-term best interest of the town, because we've talked about over that, we have these reports and whatnot, and talked about how it would make sense at one point in time to have one organization in our town, and Southbury Ambulance already covers most of the town, and this is just gonna give them a little bit more. And it seems to make sense. Their application actually explains how they intend to do the service, and provides the information requested on the document. I have another application here from Danbury Ambulance that does not anywhere in the application explain how they're going to provide the service. I'm so happy that they've had side conversations with you about locations they're thinking about and how they're going to do this, but this application does not in any way explain how they're going to provide this service. So based on these two applications before us, I just don't see why, after all we've been through over the last 2 years, I mean, perhaps if we hadn't been through a lot of the nonsense over the last period of time, this discussion would be different. But after everything we've been through on this board, on this topic, and with Southbury Ambulance on other topics, I see absolutely no reason why this town, at this point in time, would not support Southbury Ambulance on this application.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain, and it carries. Okay,
Is that a formality, or are you gonna sign it now? Just so that it's done? Okay, do we have a tornado?
It's literally just,
It's just signing.
it's just this page, there's no letter, right?
there's no letter.
It's
No,
just-
there's no letter.
It's just the page.
You got it.
Okay.
okay, where's the rest of the agenda? Unfinished business. There we go. Greater Bridgeport Regional Solid Waste Interlocal Agreement. What the heck happened to my other page? There's a resolution? Oh, there we go.
I make a motion that the Southbury Board of Selectmen, upon the recommendation of the Director of Public Works, hereby approves the Town of Southbury joining the Greater Bridgeport Regional Solid Waste Interlocal Committee, who has the current contract with Wheelabrator Bridgeport.
Second?
Made and seconded. Any discussion on it?
Yes, for purposes of the public that's here, we've actually had lots of discussion on this topic. We've been engaged in budget workshops over the last week, every night, and we met with our Public Works Director for literally hours. And one of the discussions with our Public Works Director was the cost of our solid waste hauling contract. And there's a tremendous savings, and over $40,000 savings by moving our hauling contract, by joining this interlocal that has a contract and has set pricing over the next, I forget, 3-4 years or whatnot. Right now, we're in a position with Covanta where literally they, you know, every 6 months the price jumps dramatically. So that's the reason for this. There's a lot of agreements in the materials and whatnot, but I didn't want people to think that we were just like, you know, voting on it. There's been lots of discussion on this topic, and last night when we voted on the budget, we reduced this budget line in hopes of us voting on this tonight.
What he said.
Exactly.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And it carries. Okay, for Selectmen's report, Wednesday.
Jeff? Betsy's.
A new number for the budget?
Oh, we need to add to the budget, to the agenda, a vote on the correct number for the budget. There was, you got the email, there was a glitch in the formula carryover. I
Calculations.
guess this happens. And these are the numbers. A 1.32%.
The total number remained the same. The dollar number stayed the same. I think it was the percentage number that changed? Or was it both? It was both, okay.
Carrying
went up a little bit. I'd like to make a motion to add the budget to the agenda.
Have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Okay, we are looking at the budget. We need to approve the budget as presented, because something didn't carry over from the spreadsheet. Evidently that happens.
So for the sake of the public, the thing that didn't carry over, we had detailed discussions after many presentations from every department about adding a police officer to the original budget. And I guess that, per Dan Colton, that did not flow into the main sheet. So that's
It was in the back sheet. But
It was in the back sheet, but it didn't flow, so it increased it from 1.05 to 1.32.
So can we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve and send to the Board of Finance the budget as presented in the amount of $22,656,130.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And it carries, and it's deja vu.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done this before.
All right, Selectmen's report on Wednesday, the 27th. I attended the Chamber of Commerce, Waterbury Chamber of Commerce Mayoral Conference with members of the Naugatuck Valley COG. Mayor O'Leary spoke about the progress being made in Waterbury and plans for moving the city of Waterbury forward. It was pretty interesting. It is important, I will say, I was glad to attend, and it is important that our cities improve. He's making improvements, and the Naugatuck Valley COG does recognize this. We're doing a little more vetting on the applications for Park and Rec. There was quite a few came in. I've gone through them, and we'll get some more eyes on them, and then we'll form a committee to take a look, do some research, and make a recommendation to the board. We're also doing that with the EDC. Ron will be working with that. I'll be looking to put together a task force of some sort for the pool project, get some people who are involved in the pool and the swimming right now, and hopefully we'll have a Park and Rec director along with that at that time, and get that going. The floater position and the Park and Rec administrator, they've been in place. They are working, and it's working well. And a new person is starting Monday up at the Highway Department. That position we voted on, and he'll be starting. The EMS plan, I've been told, is about 99% done.
It's pretty close. I think we have to have another meeting, don't we?
Which one?
The EMS, to go over performance standards. I think there's
Yeah.
one component that,
Yeah.
I think.
There's real progress. Yeah.
All right, and that's about it. So can we have reports from George?
I have nothing to report. None of my groups had any meetings. Tax abatements meeting next week on the 12th. We're kind of narrowing it down. We're targeting a proposal by April that is sort of final, at least to present our ideas to the board. Region 15, I don't know what the schedule is. I was just on their website to see if they rescheduled the meeting. Perhaps they have, and they haven't told me. I don't know. So,
Keith likes you, he told me so.
I like Keith too. Yeah, he's a good guy. So anyway, that's it for me.
Justin?
EDC met last night, so I was here with you. I can tell you on that one next time. The Investment Portfolio Oversight Committee did meet on Monday. We had our meeting with FIA, and you know, as with everybody in the market, December was rough. Recovered nicely recently, but everything is looking good with the accounts, the investment policy statement, what we're doing there. Committee to study town-owned property did meet. We met with broker Tom Hill out of Waterbury. Tom thinks that we should commission a demand study. There's a very senior commercial real estate broker slash developer out of Guilford that apparently is the best guy in the state to do these types of things, and he could tell us who might be interested. And a study like that would probably cost $15,000. We are gonna have him come up here and talk to us for free, first, and flesh out what that might be all about before we make any kind of a recommendation. You probably saw, a note from Ann Armino that, the committee feels that other, town committees should be represented in the discussion, that their opinions would be valuable, particularly somebody from zoning, and strategic planning, and any other folks that we might think would be relevant.
So that's the new, when we do have a hire for the economic development, director, part-time position, they certainly, I think before we took any action on bringing in it's so directly related to
Yeah,
their charge.
I think it would make sense to include that
Yeah.
person as well. The gentleman that we would like to speak with, is not available at night for the next 4 weeks because he literally does, tax assessment appeals
Tis the
for
season.
large commercial properties all around the state, so he's literally every night somewhere
Tis the season.
working. So with that being the case, we're gonna hold off till we can get him here, where people
Timing
can
will
actually
work in.
come to the meeting, because I don't think too many people can come to the 2 o'clock, with him.
Can you remind me again, Justin, what properties we're talking about? It's the Rosen Volpe
Yes, we're
piece?
talking about, Rosen Volpe.
And the piece on Route 67
relation.
near,
We're talking about what was known as the Stevenson property, which is the 40 acres from our transfer station down to
okay.
Route
Yeah,
67.
it's been so long, I've forgotten which properties we were
Yeah.
working on.
So that's where that is. Our next meeting will likely be next month when we can get the gentleman here.
Okay, Jason,
I did not have any meetings. Library meets next week. So,
Jennifer?
Planning Commission hasn't met since our last meeting, but I was approached by John Montalbano if I would be the liaison to the strategic plan, which is a night meeting, so I think I can accomplish that unless anybody else wants to take it on. And I will
with
remind
your
you that the
experience in
senior-
that area.
Yeah. And I will remind you, Senior Services still would like to have representation from this board. That's it.
Mike?
Parks and Rec met when both we were here in budget workshops and I was at my work obligation last Thursday. Their next meeting is the last Thursday of this month. We don't have a conflict that day, I don't believe. EMS doesn't meet till June 4th. Region 15, the big news out of Region 15 is that they, and I shared with the members of the board, the superintendent presented his proposed budget. It's 70.8 million, I believe. It's a 2.48% proposed increase. Yesterday, while we had our last budget workshop meeting, they had their first budget workshop meeting. The next one is March 20th, which I intend to be at, and then I'll report back after that to see how they're making progress. I mean, historically, there usually are some cuts from the superintendent's, first proposal. So
So what was the March 20th date? Sorry.
March 20th is the next budget, is the second budget workshop. So they have the board has a board member workshop retreat. That one's not open to the public. March 20th is the next budget workshop. March 25th is the next regular public meeting of the Board of Education. So, all at the high school, they do, so. That's it.
That's it. Is there any
That's all I
other
got.
business? Motion to move into executive session to discussion of Senior Services Director Tammy Rossi's job
So
performance.
moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried.